Minnesota, just like in Wisconsin, we respect our neighbors and the personal choices they make. Even if we wouldn't make the same choices for ourselves, because we know there's a golden rule.
He's not a nice old guy. He's a leftist. He is an extreme left-wing progressive. He is a wolf in sheep.
Picture this for a moment. Michele Tafoya steps in like she's just uncovered a secret everyone pretended not to know. And yes, it involves Tim Walz. She isn't simply laying out facts. She's tossing the entire pot onto the table. Suddenly, Walz isn't just another political figure. He's a flashing caution sign, a warning in plain sight. With every word, Michele is practically signaling, pay attention. This is serious. What unfolds feels less like standard politics and more like a firestorm nobody saw coming. Get ready, because this roast hit harder than anyone expected.
Maybe we won't agree on every issue. Hell, maybe we won't agree on any issue. But maybe when the campaign signs come down, we all get a little break from the rhetoric and the TV ads and the fundraising texts, and I'm sorry about those.
I happen to live right now in Minnesota, where he is still the governor, and he's still a fool, and he's still a fraud, and he's still a clown.
Ooh.
And I seriously have zero respect.
If you're enjoying this, make sure to hit that subscribe button. You'll be surprised at how much support you'll get in return. Before Michele Tafoya ever stepped into politics, she already had a playbook. She didn't just speak up. She launched in like she was auditioning for the championship of truth-telling. And her target? Tim Walz. Suddenly, the Minnesota governor wasn't just that guy bragging about hunting trips while secretly Googling how to look rugged in plaid. Far from it. Thanks to Tafoya, he came across like a human warning sign flashing bright with caution. Side effects of dealing with him might include confusion, second thoughts, and eye rolls you can't control.
Say so far, not a good week, and it's early, it's only Wednesday, but not a good week for Kamala Harris. And meanwhile, her running mate, who again, full disclosure, the governor of the state of Minnesota where I live and will not be living much longer, thanks in large part to Winters, yes, but Walz as well, the two W's. I don't know how hard I have to work to convince you all that Tim Walz is not a man you want a heartbeat away from the president.
Mediocrity isn't just Tim Walz's habit, it's his craft. And each morning, it's as if he stares into the mirror and thinks, how can I make plain even duller today? And then he delivers. From clumsy policies to speeches that sound like a lagging chatbot, Walz has managed to transform Minnesota from the land of nice into a full-blown headache for its people.
Mostly, do you think the current governor, Tim Walz, is associated with that fraud? How much responsibility does he bear?
Oh, he owns it. Absolutely. I mean, there have been no agency people held accountable for the fraud on the front end. So if we could stop this with better internal controls and oversight by the agencies, then there would be fewer criminals out there bilking the...
When he says that kids who want to come here and get gender-affirming care without parental guidance is wrong, he is lying to you. I'm married to a lifetime Minnesotan, and we now...
Why is Michele Tafoya waving the red flag like she's directing traffic at a circus? Because Tim Walz isn't just another politician with empty promises. He's the real hokey pokey. Every move he makes leaves people scratching their heads, and every turn feels like a ride that ends in dizziness. Tafoya tore back the curtain to show him for what he is, a man who couldn't find his way out of a roundabout, even with 3 road signs and a GPS shouting directions.
Okay, yeah. So I was at the Peking University and engaging with economists, and I'd made the statement, I'd corrected him when he had said that Mao had made mistakes. And I said, excuse me, this was in 2010. I said, killing more than 70 million of your own people is more than a mistake. And the Chinese deny my visa and say that I'll only be allowed into the country if I will sign a document stating that I will neither write nor say anything negative about China. I'm banned after one visit. But here's a guy who's going back while he's a National Guardsman,
And then comes the final flourish in this disaster, Sunday. The smug confidence. Walz carries himself like he's unlocked the secret to eternal youth and forgot to write it down. With that constant, trust me, I've got this attitude, he steers the political bus straight into a ditch. Michele didn't need to add anything more. The man exposed himself simply by holding office. His entire leadership style can be summed up like this: confusion and overcomplication. Had a child, and that child grew up to be governor. Walz can take the simplest issue, twist it into a 5-act Shakespearean tragedy, and then forget his lines halfway through. Want a firm opinion? Sorry, he's too busy whispering to the ghosts of his past mistakes. Want progress? Don't count on it. This is the guy who could turn ordering pizza into a bureaucratic nightmare, complete with 2 surveys, 6 committees, and a follow-up meeting on whether pineapple is acceptable. Michele Tafoya saw it for what it was. And with all but a shout, she warned, folks, be afraid. Walz isn't the opposite because he's some evil mastermind. It's because chaos follows him everywhere.
Has never been vetted because he looks so harmless. Isn't that always the way, the wolf in sheep's clothing? It's always the way. When he abandoned Minneapolis during the George Floyd riots, we were all sitting back going, where the hell is Tim Walz? Where's the governor? He didn't show his face for 3 days. But it's not just that. There is so much wrong in this state now. When he says that there are not abortions up to 9 months,
Walz proves that the real danger in leadership isn't the schemers plotting world domination. It's the ones who think duct tape can hold together a collapsing bridge. Imagine hiring a babysitter who insists on cooking souffles but can't even work the microwave, or watching a volunteer patch a leaky pipe only to flood the entire basement. That's the Walz experience. Michele doesn't even need to raise her voice. Arms folded, she lets the spectacle speak for itself. Walz practically wrote the soundtrack to his own downfall. The irony? It drips thicker than Minnesota maple syrup. He's tried hard to brand himself as the relatable guy, the one who's just like everyone else. But here's the twist. When most people say they're just like you, it means they make better choices, not worse. With Walz, it's the opposite. You know, a governor is bad when he makes you nostalgic for dial-up internet, because at least dial-up eventually connects. His flaw isn't cartoon villain evil. It's something far less dramatic, yet far more painful. Pure, soul-crushing, bureaucratic incompetence.
most proud of that you've accomplished since 2018?
You know, the most important work I've done has been in the last session when I became chair of the fraud committee. Minnesota has an epidemic of fraud. Under Tim Walz, we are looking at north of $1 billion of our tax dollars being stolen and ripped away from vulnerable citizens who actually need help. So my work on the fraud committee continues even though we're not in session. We're having our next meeting September 17th, and I am just committed to rooting out the fraud and protecting taxpayers and
He's not sneaking cookies out of the jar. He's forming a subcommittee to locate the jar because he misplaced it. Then, at a press conference, he solemnly announces that cookie policy is under review. That's when Michele Tafoya all but shouts from the rooftops, "Be afraid. This isn't leadership. It's chaos dressed in a suit." The comedy of errors has lost its laugh track and excuses are running on empty. If Walz ever wrote a book, it would be a 3-part saga titled "It's Not My Fault," a politician's guide to dodging responsibility. His go-to culprits: the weather, the economy, Mercury in retrograde, or maybe the neighbor's cat acting weird. He's collected more scapegoats than a county fair petting zoo. The worst part is the delivery. He serves these excuses with a calm confidence as if people might actually buy in. Michele had to be shaking her head watching him wriggle out of accountability like he was competing in a limbo contest. And then there's his trademark awkward deflection. Ask him a hard question and he'll veer so far off topic you'll wonder if you stumbled onto a cooking show. The people want straight answers. Instead, he serves up word salad, complete with wilted lettuce, stale croutons, and sketchy ranch dressing. Michele didn't just point it out, she pushed back hard, saying in no uncertain terms, "Stop pretending this mess is edible."
The state into the ground. And so there are a lot of people in my neighborhood who are moving, not just my neighborhood, from all over Minnesota, who have left, probably heading your way. It's been really sad. I've lived here for half of my life now. I grew up, like I said, in Southern California and spent the first half of my life in California and then came here. I'm so sad to see this state the way that it is. So I would have I'd love to sit across from him and interview him, but it would be more like a...
Michele was dead on when she said Walz's so-called reliability is the scariest part of his act. His real trick isn't competence, it's looking competent. Roll up the sleeves, strike the pose of a hard-working leader, and hope no one notices the sink overflowing right behind him. It's like hiring a builder to construct your dream home, only to find out he spent weeks color-coding the tool shed instead of laying the foundation. By the time you realize the house was never built, the roof is already crashing down. Michelle's warning was clear. Don't fear less, fear more. Don't hand this man anything fragile, important, or remotely dangerous. Yet somehow, the political machine grinds on like nothing's wrong. Walz is that coworker who spends half the day playing solitaire, but keeps getting promoted just because he's been around forever. After a while, you start wondering, is this funny, or has the promotion committee just surrendered? What makes Michelle's critique sting is that she isn't bound by politics. She's not playing along with stage smiles and scripted sound bites. She doesn't sugarcoat. She drops the punchline with facts. No 50-slide PowerPoint, no drawn-out speeches, just a fuse lit and fireworks left to explode on their own.
The guy is a doofus. He's just a goober. He's kind of a clown. He's not a serious guy. Every time you see him, he's like, you just get embarrassed for him and for Minnesota. I don't know if is he popular there? Do people like this guy?
Of course, Walz will fall back on his usual routine. He's perfected the politician's poker face, the kind that says everything's fine while the house behind him is going up in flames. But people are starting to catch on. A poker face means nothing when your cards are face up on the table and everyone can see you're holding a lousy pair of threes. That's why Michelle all but shouted, "Look at his hand, he's bluffing." And just like that, the illusion crumbled. Walz isn't just running in circles on his own anymore. He's dragging the entire state along for the ride. It's like strapping into a roller coaster with loose safety bars, shaky tracks, and a distracted operator. That's the kind of leadership Minnesota's stuck with. The fear here doesn't come from malice. It comes from ignorance. And ignorance in power is often the most dangerous form of all. Sure, Walz's defenders will trot out the familiar excuses. He's misunderstood, the job is hard, his heart's in the right place. But let's be honest, good intentions don't build roads, fix problems, or make people feel safe. Michelle cut through the noise by saying the quiet part out loud. When meaning well is paired with doing poorly, it stops meaning anything at all.
So I need people to know that I've lived there since 1994. I've been through numerous governors, and this guy's the worst. He is a wolf in sheep's clothing. He likes to go around and smile and act like he's just good old Tim Walz. That period of time in Minneapolis was awful. A neighbor across the street came over and said, "Do you have a fire extinguisher? My friend's business is burning and there's no one to help her."
Walz has a remarkable gift, pitching ideas with the gusto of a motivational speaker, only to watch them collapse like a toddler's Jenga tower. The problem isn't vision, it's execution, or rather, the total lack of it. And that's where the danger lies. This is a governor who treats every decision like a choose-your-own-adventure story, except every ending is disappointing. Michele Tafoya nailed it. Fear here isn't paranoia, it's survival instinct. When the person at the wheel can't even find the steering wheel, everyone in the car has reason to panic. And that's the tragic punchline of the whole show. Walz isn't some villain plotting from the shadows. He's not a mastermind at all. He's the guy fumbling with the projector during a critical presentation, insisting everything is under control while the screen glitches for the 50th time. That's why Michelle's warning hits differently. She isn't cautioning people about what he might scheme. She's sounding the alarm about what he might accidentally wreck.
This is a place full of working folks, students, folks who care. And I think about this. You came out here early, found a place to park, stood in the sun, sat here and wait, and you did it. You did it for one simple and eloquent and beautiful reason. You love this country. You love this country.
Unintentional political disasters can hit just as hard as deliberate ones. So when Michele Tafoya says, "You should be scared," she isn't fear-mongering. She's pointing out the glaring elephant in the room with a giant "kick me" sign. Walz isn't terrifying because of malice. He's alarming because of power without competence. That's the real danger. He's the kind of leader who'd accidentally send the state budget to Staples instead of the legislature, then hold a press conference insisting that was the plan all along. Michelle's words weren't just criticism, they were an alarm bell. Like spotting smoke in a crowded theater, except here, the smoke is real because the fire is burning in the political kitchen. Walz is the chef who could char a steak into a hockey puck and then promote it as the latest gourmet trend.
Neighborhood for fire extinguishers. We were under curfew, but he was nowhere to be found.
Oh.
And the night that precinct burned and those cops just had to flee, it was one of the most surreal moments I can recall as being a citizen of anywhere.
And yet somehow he still gets handed the spatula. That's the horror movie twist in this whole story. The threat isn't some shadowy figure plotting from the dark. It's the crowd cheering for the man who can't even preheat the oven. That's the chilling part. Incompetence not only tolerated, but applauded. Michele Tafoya didn't just shout, "Be on the lookout for danger." She also called out the deeper sickness. Stop pretending this level of incompetence is normal. Walz hasn't made Minnesota stronger or more secure. He's made the state uneasy, trading comfort for chaos. And Michele, unbound by the niceties of politics, is essentially saying the quiet part out loud. This isn't okay. Quit acting like it is. Strip away the political theatrics. And that's the darkest truth of all. Walz doesn't have to plan disaster. It follows him around like a loyal dog. From fumbling decisions that collapse like a toddler's Jenga tower, to speeches that drift into stale word salad, to policies that turn simple tasks into 5-act tragedies, the pattern is painfully clear. His poker face, his calm delivery, even his stage, sleeves rolled up photo ops, they're all distractions from the mess smoldering right behind him. Michele's warning cuts deeper than partisan critique. She's not telling people to watch out for some evil mastermind pulling strings. She's saying the opposite. The real danger is a man who doesn't realize the damage he's doing. The kind of governor who would send the state budget to Staples, shrug it off as intentional, then hold a press conference congratulating himself for innovation. That's why Michele's message lands so hard. This isn't leadership. It's recklessness disguised as normalcy. And the scariest part, he keeps being trusted with the tools to burn the kitchen down again.